Cancer, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and asthma are all examples of non-communicable diseases, and sadly, these diseases are the leading cause of death globally. But do they really affect us here in Africa? And are Africans really living with these diseases? Find out here at the African NCD Champions podcast as we share incredible stories of Africans living with non-communicable diseases. My name is Ogweno Stephen and I'll be your host. Let's roll. Welcome to another episode of the African NCD Champions. And today we are having a special episode because we're talking rare diseases. So not your common, well-known, non-communicable diseases, but rather those ones that we don't primarily hear about. And with us today is someone I consider an expert, an expert in the space when it comes to rare diseases, because you're also a caregiver, of someone living with rare diseases. And so, without further ado, give us a brief introduction to yourself and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Roselyn Kanja. I'm a mother to two children. Mm-hmm. Both of them have NCDs. The first one has asthma, ADHD, he's dyslexic. Mm-hmm. Those are the common ones. And then the second one has what is called Joubert Syndrome, which is Joubert. And basically, that started my journey into this whole thing. Mm-hmm. But as much as I'm a rare disease advocate, I also, my day job encompasses running a business, which I've run for the last about almost 20 years now. And I take on other roles in the community and even in the special needs space. Yes.
So let's do business first. What's this 20-year-old business that you've been running?
So it's a design agency. So I started when I was much younger, and can tell you I'm only 25 still.
I see. Yeah, yes. I'm actually 25.
Younger every day. So yes, so it's a design agency that I started when I was younger. It came from my hobby. When I growing up, I loved to design, but it's not what I studied for. I was supposed to be, behind the camera or even a reporter, but that didn't quite resonate with me. Yes.
Interesting. So you're actually supposed to be either a journalist.
Kinda, yeah. But I loved movies at the time, so what I wanted to do is probably go into production of movies. And
I see.
But then at the time, I was looking for a job, and design was something that was easy for me at the time. So I kind of started off my first job there, and it kind of grew.
Picked up with that, and you've been running it for 20 years now.
Yes.
Okay, exciting. In a few years, I should say. Okay, now 20 years ago, I started this thing. Anyway, so back to rare diseases. I guess my first question is, what are they? How do rare diseases come about, and what are some of the examples of that?
Okay, so rare diseases, unlike other diseases, are looked at in terms of prevalence, meaning how many there are in any given population. So in a country like America, it is any disease that affects less than 200,000 people at any given time. In Europe, it will be about 1 in 2,000, someplace 1 in 2,500. So that is their definition of what a rare disease is. Now, when you come closer home in the region and in Africa, there is no definition. And that is one of the things that we are actually, advocating for. So these diseases affect a small percentage of the population. Individually, they are rare, but collectively, we are looking at 300 million people. So if you put HIV and cancer patients, it still does not amount to 300 million people. So you can see it's a lot. There are a lot. And they have diverse needs, and they're affected differently. And the impact of these rare diseases in their lives is beyond health. It affects, even education. If you look at the SDGs in terms of even poverty, because this conditions are so expensive to manage, so they push you lower into the poverty line. Their impact is so diverse on different people. Yes, so some of the common rare diseases that you'll hear in Kenya that we know of, remember we do not have data yet, will be like muscular dystrophy. You'll have there's multiple sclerosis. Sometimes not considered rare, but you can consider it rare for our purposes. Narcolepsy, where these people are not able to regulate their sleep. Yes.
Interesting. Yes, you mentioned that we don't have data yet. I guess I'll sort of just move on that thread a bit, and so going to the question of what's happening in the field of rare diseases in Kenya, because clearly, even from your opening statement, it looks like it's not a lot that's happening in that field. So what's actually happening?
So it is true, and nothing much has been happening, but with a lot of making noise and advocating for it, we are starting to see the initial steps. So you're finding that we don't have data, even as a country. We don't know how many these diseases are there. And even the doctors who we expect them to know, they have no clue. We've been into forums where we are informing them, like, these are the rare diseases. Sometimes you'll find that maybe a specialist would know, but only in their sphere. Maybe I'm managing multiple sclerosis, I know multiple sclerosis, but that's just it. When we are looking at rare diseases as a whole, then you have other challenges. So when it comes even to the NCD plans and documents that government has, rare diseases do not even feature. They're not anywhere near. So when people are talking about diabetes, cardiovascular, all the others, we are nowhere, not even mentioned. But the truth is, these people do exist. Yes.
Yeah. And so they do exist, and you happen to live with some of them.
Yes.
So what's that story like? How did you discover, that your children or your child had a rare disease, and how has that looked like?
So at my 8-month pregnancy, I couldn't get my gyna, so I was sent to, I went to another gynecologist, and he had asked me to have an ultrasound done by one of the, I would consider one of the best in the country, radiologists, who's very keen. Earlier on, if I might go back, they had noticed that there was cysts in the child's kidney, but the doctor was like, those tend to disappear with time by the time you're giving birth, so I wasn't quite worried. It was a difficult pregnancy. I had what is called...
Now that was incredible. Thank you for listening in. Share this with your networks and follow us on all social media at Storelink and at NCD Champions. See you on the next one.